And it should say that I'm live now. And waiting for Sean to hop on. We took last week off, so it's possible that he forgot about the mastermind this morning. Mm, what can I discuss? Hey, you are on here. Okay, here we go. Hi,
Oh, hey.
what's going on?
This or that. Not much. Went to Disney last week.
How was it?
About what I expected. Lots of people, extremely hot, long lines. Eh. My son was probably the saddest kid at Disney World. Just,
Really?
yeah. I
Why?
don't know. He's just grumpy the whole time and just kind of like, I don't like the lines and it's hot and all that. So
Isn't it like $400 per kid or something?
I don't know. It's expensive, but I
Yeah,
don't. My wife figured it all out. So
Disney World is expensive. Universal Studios is expensive. Florida is
yeah.
expensive. And this whole like inflation, crack is going to go from like $5 to $30. Like everything's expensive.
Yeah, it is pretty much all going up, isn't it?
You
Uh,
know, if what's that prostitute website, fans only or something,
OnlyFans?
OnlyFans.
I don't think it's a
Yo,
prostitute website, isn't it? Just a like cam to cam, like Twitch, but it's just generally frequented by.
whenever I hear about it on social media, it's always about women, I don't know, entertaining men. Anyway, oh, if that is public, I'm just going to invest in that. I'm going to double down on that stock because I feel like everybody's going to be looking for a side hustle, and that's probably the based on gender, that's probably the easiest way to get massive amounts of audiences to donate. So,
Yeah, isn't it when
well,
things go crazy, you invest in like Walmart, dollar stores, beer, and anything related to vices?
baby formula. There's a
Oh
shortage
yeah,
of baby formula.
yeah, I heard that.
Like, what's more stressful, first world problems or third world problems?
I don't know. I've never been part of third world problems, so I'm not sure how stressful it is.
Uh, I would assume it's stressful, but then again, everything's relative.
Yeah, well, I'm sure during it, it's awful and it's possibly a lot worse. Well, it definitely is probably a lot worse during it. I think what the question is like after when things go back to when you don't have problems, how does it affect you? Um,
I
I'm
think there's
guessing
a
that there's.
general
Oh, go
I think
ahead.
there's a general consensus that third world societies are happier.
Yeah, I think there's something to be said for when you know the bad, the good feels better. You know, um, so it's kind of like I think in Minnesota, I think people probably appreciate the summers more or the warm weather because we know what
Yeah.
cold is. Um, so like our summer is like everybody is just so excited and it's a much happier time. But I don't think we'd get that if it was 60s and to 90s all year round.
You ready for this? Ta-da! I don't know how to zoom in on it though.
You made business cards.
Yeah, Beach Mobile. That's my update for beach delivery that I did
I,
like a couple days ago. You know what bothered me?
Is that your
when
real phone number?
yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
you say you're giving it to the world, huh?
Oh, yeah, I didn't think about that. You know what bothered me about this? It bothered me. I would prefer that the feet are not white, either black or brown, maybe even Asian.
You have to
I feel
find a
like
white rock then.
I feel like a sellout because I have stereotypically more than likely privileged white models on my business card, and yeah, I struggled with that for like half an hour, but I didn't see any other options to have a beach type theme, unfortunately.
Well, why don't you message Vistaprint and say this is bullshit and demand that they be more inclusive? And then if they don't, then you can go cancel them on Twitter. Although maybe Elon Musk will get you then. So
It did bother me though, and I'm like, you know what? It's only 100 cards initially. I guess I could always just rebrand it.
do you buy them then?
Yeah, I bought it.
Okay,
These
all
are
right.
some expensive business cards. It was
Was it
like 30.
17 bucks for 100?
It was like altogether, it was like $34 for 100.
Hmm. Should have gone down to your local print shop and seen if they could do it for you.
No, but this it's the quality, the texture, the weight of the card. I wanted to step it up from the current cards that I have that are extremely flimsy and cheap.
Hmm. When I went out on the beach on last Saturday, I thought about like, huh, I could pull up the app and order some fish tacos, but there's no beach delivery app.
Was this something that you think would seriously be considered where you were at?
Maybe if if you, I guess what it would be
What-
is if you don't plan ahead. Unfortunately, I have like a or not unfortunately, I guess my the crowd that I was with over plans everything, so they bring like
Uh,
you just like, hey, I need this, and they're like, oh, I've got that with, but I don't know, but yeah, if you forgot the sunscreen or something, like
that's the only thing I look forward to. Well, it's not the only thing, but it's something that I could take advantage of during my whenever I'm off assignment in regards to contracts. Translated, whenever I become unemployed again, I really look forward to finishing this speech delivery.
gotcha. So you're
Um,
deciding that it's your downtime project rather than.
yeah, because I don't want to look at a monitor after work. My mind doesn't
I
want
get
to
it.
do it.
I get it.
And
It's
plus,
probably. Oh, good.
I was just gonna say, plus, like my current gig, like I call the shots on like what work gets done, more or less. And so, like, I pretty much design and build whatever I want, and it's very interesting because it's me doing it versus someone else telling me to do it and them like constraining me to do it a certain type of way. I have like complete freedom, so
Hmm.
I'm not used to that professionally.
Do you do you have Scrum
Well,
teams?
outside of I can't do it in F sharp, but even
Oh.
my C sharp is like space age. It's like a Romulan wrote it. Like it's pretty advanced. Uh,
Should yeah. Um, yeah, you can. I mean, you can write some pretty good C sharp if you try. Um, but the I was gonna say, do you guys use Scrum for things? I'm starting to think that Scrum is one of the biggest um, hindrances to progress uh, and actually getting crap done. I know it's
I,
not supposed to be, and in versus waterfall, it's better, but it's just it's the way that it's implemented.
well, it's
I
fun.
hate it.
It's interesting because I mentioned at somewhat of a Scrum of Scrums call. have we considered having retrospectives about how we manage the development effort amongst management versus just having retrospectives amongst developers?
Hmm.
And I was trying to be very careful how I framed that.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know. I
To answer your question, I, I value I value daily status updates. It's unfortunately when I take status updates, I try to be softer. Like in the past, I used to be very direct. I used to when I would get status from developers, I'm like, "What did you complete yesterday?" I don't I wasn't interested in what you worked on. Like, what did you accomplish? Um, and I'm trying to be softer tone. I don't like asking people their status. I want to know what they got done. But
mhm.
if I communicate it that way, I'm afraid it may be misinterpreted.
Yeah. Well, I mean, normally a status would tell you what they got done, I would assume. But the big question
I
for me, I
get
guess, from a
paranoid
developer
about
side would be,
this. I don't want to draw unnecessary detention and feel like I'm forced. I don't know. Like, I wish you were black for a day. Sometimes I feel like even things may be in your head, but it's involuntary. You think about who it's coming from and how it could be misinterpreted. Like for example, you take genders. You know, men, they're born leaders, but women, they're bossy, right? Like that's how it could be interpreted. And so I'm just kind of conscientious of like, do I really want to be as direct as I am when I try to manage myself, or do I want to be more soft spoken and more quote unquote easy to work with? And I don't know, I pay attention to things like that just because sometimes I don't think it serves me the way I manage myself versus how I would manage others.
I don't think that that's unique to. I think what's unique to your situation is probably the fact that you related back to skin color. But I do that kind of stuff all the time. Overthink about how I come across, and did I upset someone, or am I going to be sounding, you know, bad in this context? Did people misinterpret what I said?
Yeah,
Will they look down on me? So I like I said, I think I'm guessing most people feel that way. It's just what's different about your situation, and probably a lot of people is do they relate it back to their identity, whereas we probably don't. We just think, well, it's just about us. Like,
yeah, like some like
sure.
they my current gig, I've never shown my face on conference calls just because I feel like it's not going to add value, and if anything, it adds distraction, given like my role or my influence. And it could be all in my
Maybe you should.
head, but I've been conditioned this way, so I just
Maybe you
don't show
should.
my face.
Bald
Yeah,
people are considered to be more powerful, or like perceived to be more powerful. So
Lex Luthor.
yeah, yeah. Actually, I mean, you think about it, all like powerful CEO types, not the ones that are mega millionaires, but if you think about powerful CEO types, they tend to be bald men. Not saying that that should be the case, or that that's whatever. It's just if you typecast somebody, it's like this bald dude.
Yeah.
I don't know, but no, actually, and then people with hair are supposed to be more attractive, I guess. But whatever.
I would
But
assume. Yeah.
anyways, I was just thinking because I had a situation where we were looking at a ticket and we were doing some point, and it was like, well, should this be a spike or should it be this? And it's like, well, if we don't do it as a spike, then we won't be able to know like how much work there is to do, so that we can't accurately. And the only reason we did is because we can't accurately um, plan for the QA effort around it, because we don't know the size of the work. So we can't point it. Therefore, we should do the research, then do it. But thinking about it like on a timeline though, that means you have to take one sprint to do it, one sprint and then another sprint to develop it. Whereas it could take, once you get into it, it could take just half a sprint, and you could have just got it done all at once, and then saved yourself the time of researching and documenting it, and then doing the fix on it. And I'm just like,
You know
I
what
don't
I
know.
struggle with? There's a couple things. Like I created this template to break down feature work just because I feel like the first 20 minutes is trying to talk about, well, what does the feature mean to a particular team, even though the feature encompasses multiple teams. So like I created a template to break down the feature, to identify the services that are involved, the teams that are involved, the dependencies, the product owners, the architects, and it provided more clarity. It's like it's the full page worth of tables. Um, but then the other part, and this has been like bothering me, is like the work that needs to be done. It doesn't require an entire team. It's just it just requires one person. But the way that things are organized, it's like, all right, well, we got 5 developers. How long is this going to take? I'm like, oh, it would take Scott Nimrod probably like a day and a half to build out, because I'm like a 10x developer, right? I'm not trying to find a way to say that humbly, with humility, but like a lot of the estimating of effort, I don't know how an entire team does something that's really just for one person, right? You ever see that meme with the construction workers, and there's like one
Yeah,
guy digging the hole and everybody else
yeah,
is just looking at him? I feel like that's exactly the metaphor for the type of work that I've been doing.
yeah. I mean, you could suggest to the team that they do mob programming and try that out. I mean,
Oh, okay.
that could solve the issue if it's a, how do we decompose this and break it up so everybody has work to do.
You know
I don't.
what?
I know in that situation I'd be probably pretty annoyed and not happy with my job because I like being busy. So if I'm like there's not enough work to go around, but yeah,
Mm,
or you just have the honest conversation that this team is too big and that you should decrease it and move people off to other places.
that's not gonna happen.
Yeah, see, it's that's the kind of shit that annoys the hell out of me is that it's like people like are so rigid in the way that they structure like organizations and people, and they're not very fluid about it. But I mean, back to what I was saying about like that thing. It's like I think that like I'm completely on board with really what we should do is just completely just do continual Kanban, agile, right? And just like as soon as you're done with a ticket, you pick up the next one. Doesn't matter if it's in the sprint, whatever. And if something is going to take a while or could take a while, you're free to explain why you need to break it off into multiple tickets. You create the tickets and then you just move on if those are the next priority thing. It's like it's so hard to decompose up front. And I don't think that people think about the cost of estimation and planning. Like
They don't.
there's a lot of yeah, it's like that's free time, but development's expensive. But you spend a lot of time in the
Yeah,
thing
you
that
you spend like $1,000 for half an hour based on the number of people in that meeting,
yeah.
and you
Um
keep having my. I gotta be careful how I frame this based on my experience with my last job. um, and I already lost my train of thought. Give me a second. Give me a second. Give me a second. I lost it. Never mind.
yeah, just the whole idea of planning, costing stuff. Like I
Oh yeah,
understand
yeah, yeah. When tell me if you observe this. when you have like two or three meetings about discovering work.
About discovering work.
Yeah, like what can a team work on? Like,
Oh yeah, I've had that
and you have
before.
meeting after meeting after meeting just to figure out because the work doesn't naturally surface or or become exposed.
Yeah, we've had that kind of question. It's like, what can we work on now because this other thing dependency isn't ready? I'm like, we can work on the whole thing. I'm like, all you with a dependency is just can be mocked, can be faked, can be stubbed, as long as you define a contract. You can code to a contract. You could do the entire thing to the contract. In fact, it's good to do it that way because then you guarantee that you're not influenced by the design decisions of the other side.
Yeah, here's a question: Is there are there any alternative options to a team doing development?
To a team doing development.
Yeah, you think about the way we do things, and it's always a team that's responsible for building out a service or building out a feature.
Hmm.
Well, for service one, it's always a team. Building out the feature may encompass multiple, like a number of teams. Are there any other development methodologies that don't necessarily allocate a unit of a team, but instead maybe employs a swarm and they don't have fixed like responsibilities or boundaries. They just swarm it and then it gets done. I mean, it's a sincere question. Like, do we just immediately get tunnel vision because that's the way things have been done, or are there alternatives that may have advantages as well?
No, we did that. We did that at my first job, and I mean, it wasn't. I'd like to say it was waterfall, but initially it wasn't until they made it that way or tried to make it that way. But the once they tried to like get an STLC in process, then it became. But we were like, we'd be assigned random projects across the entire like ecosystem for the most part, except for the web team, which was kind of separate. So if you worked within our like internal ERP, I could be working on something in sales orders today, and then tomorrow I'd be working on purchasing, and then the next day I'd be working on inventory, and just swapping contexts all the time. I think the problem with that is that you don't like it's cool because you get a lot of experience, but you waste a lot of time trying to understand the domain, which is to me is one of the hard parts,
Yeah,
right? So having a people that are domain experts. Now, I think you can do that if it's purely a technical thing, right? You think about like DBAs, they swarm. Like they are subject matters, or they learn the technology and then they apply it across many domains at the behest of somebody who like or at the need of somebody who knows the other side of the domain, right? They're technical experts. So you can have and maybe this is true of architects too, or should be true of architects, but so you have like people who are experts in um, you know Elasticsearch and databases and message queuing and um, I don't know, service to service, you know, communication, and you have people that are good with like DevOps and SRE and observability, and I think you take all of those technical concerns and you could do that. But I think when you get down to it, having a developer set of people that represent the actual functional business side of it and are connected to that is probably much better, and have ownership over it is a much better way because you can build the mental model and you can connect the dots and understand what you're trying to do and how, and contribute back to the business. How does this impact something based on some other thing that you have? Oh, you forgot about this feature because if we do this, then it's this. So I think there's value in that. But that should be treated the same as somebody who's a DBA isn't going to swarm then and become your Kafka expert or your messaging expert. You know what I mean? I mean they might, but I wouldn't expect them to just be like, well, today you're working on the database, and tomorrow you're going to be working on implementing our messaging systems. Like, okay, what? I think it's the same kind of deal.
Yeah, I mean, I think that work can also be based on abstractions versus vendor technologies initially. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I think that it'd be nice if developers like you started a team and it was always just two developers, um, so that you always have like a backup or whatever. Um, and then, well, maybe I don't know. I guess if you're doing pairing, if you're not doing pairing, then it might be enough to have a single developer. But and then you just have them build out whatever you want. I don't know.
I don't know.
It's hard to say.
I'm thinking maybe you should just have very, very, very senior 3x developers, and each one just owns a service or a
Yeah,
feature.
yeah. Why doesn't
Like instead
why
of
don't we have
having 50,
yeah?
you just have, or instead of having 30, you just have like five.
Well, yeah, because it's like the what's the principle where your organization matches your communications or your code matches your
Conway's Law.
yeah Conway's. So it's like we're going towards microservices, but we don't have micro teams. Like it almost should be that teams are small and they own a subset of things, and then they maintain those things. And if they need more things, then you add it to where their capacity is. They can keep working on stuff. I don't know.
I mean, I think I would like that model. Like you start with an individual per per domain or per functional area, and then as work organically becomes exposed and and it needs to scale for that particular functional area, then you add support and then you scale it back once it wraps up. Like, I mean, obviously, I haven't really done that in practice. I just feel like, I don't know, status quo is a very strong thing. And I guess it's
Yeah,
just extremely counterintuitive to reimagine how to accomplish the same thing in different ways. We're just locked into mainstream. This is the way, and I'm not sure if
this
it's
is the way.
really. I'm not sure if it's really efficient.
I don't think it is. I don't think it's efficient at all, and I don't think we take enough. Um, I don't think we do enough experimentation with our processes, and that's to me that experimentation and continual improvement is at the core of what agile is supposed to be. But we're so inflexible with it. We're so rigid about the 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 like how the system is supposed to work. You know, I don't know that I've ever been part of an org where people actually use velocity for anything. Like nobody plans on that. Nobody ever does. It's like, oh, we need to collect these points and we need to measure our velocity. And if you go back to it, it's like, how are you using this? Well, the idea is to use it once we get it good. But that never happens because your team changes, people take vacations. It's never accurate. And people can't decompose a problem well enough to actually be able to plan it out ahead of time. It's just not like there's always things that come up, there's always new problems, and you end up skimping on things because you're like, well, the sprint's over if I don't complete this card. Then it's going to be carried over and it'll affect our velocity. It's so dumb.
That reminds me of my last job where we're trying to like guess, or I don't know if it was poker planning. I forget what that stuff is.
Yeah,
And like 3/4 of the team is junior developers, and like we're trying to estimate, and they estimate like they 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 pick one number, and naturally like they all like pick close to that number, and I'll pick a very, very different number. and they're like, oh well, the majority picked this, and I tell like the product owner, well, the majority is inexperienced developers. They're juniors, so they don't really. I'm not confident that they understand the details or other considerations. How could they? So just because they're the majority doesn't necessarily mean that that's what we're going to estimate, right? They're like, no, this is a team, Scott. You need to understand that. Like, this is a team effort. I'm like, yes, but I have like 20 years of experience. They have like 1.5 years. Like, you have to take that into
Yeah,
consideration. and,
yeah,
I lost that battle, and I'm like, okay, fine.
yeah. Well, I've underestimated things a lot, and I've overestimated things a lot too. And it's like, I like potentially will add points based on how much anxiety I feel. So it's like, do I get anxious about this because there could be a sleeping giant in it? If so, boom, you know. But if it's something I know right up front how I'm going to do it, how I'm going to execute it, oh, this is super low. And I
Well,
go more off of like how hard I think the problem could be, or like how straightforward the work is, not based on time at all, which ends up being like, hey, you pointed this as a 5, but really it took the entire sprint. It's like, well, yeah, okay, whoops, you
yeah.
know.
Well, that and like, I don't know if you can't tell, like,
Hmm.
I've really been plagued with how to find work for teams, how to like create work. And so like when forecasting, they're like how many points. Involuntarily, I immediately think about how long is it going to take for one person to do it, and I usually
Yeah,
think how long is it going to take for me to do it. And I had that mental barrier where like I just it's so hard for me to conceive the effort for an entire team because I don't think it's work for an entire team. I think it's work for one person, and I don't know how to
yeah,
manage that.
yeah. Well, just add a bunch of time to it. That's not necessary. But
Yeah,
I wonder
because
if
it's like
they,
diminishing returns when you add more people at times to an effort that really could be owned by an individual, by an individual. So,
yeah, I wonder if you could get into like, so like, what does the military do when they aren't like, you know, when they're not at war? Is they train and they do war games and they do mock scenarios and stuff. I wonder if you could somehow employ like, I don't know, mock scenarios or something.
no, you want to know why?
Why?
Because the military is with tax dollars. It's involuntary. That money, if people don't pay up, they go to jail. They get kidnapped. Whereas, like a funded project, if it's not government, like that's someone else's money. And sometimes they just want to see you hitting a keyboard. like,
Yeah, yeah. Well, I
I,
mean,
I just think it's different. Like, I
could
don't.
you say that we're going through like, I want you to plan a disaster scenario on this and
Well,
how it
yeah.
would, yeah,
I
and
was
go through
like,
mock recovery efforts or something. I don't know.
but that would let me try. Let me practice my soft skills training. That is an awesome idea. As long as we also consider that product owners usually sign off on what gets budgeted and what gets prioritized. So
Oh, there you go.
if we're talking about resiliency engineering, aka chaos engineering, I completely agree. Like it's not if, it's when. It's going to happen. It may not happen for 5 years, but it's going to happen, right?
Yeah.
But it doesn't get prioritized because what gets prioritized is happy path feature scenarios
Y-
and bugs or outages. That stuff is assumed by the business that it shouldn't happen, therefore it will not happen. And it's like an unsung hero if you do have a resiliency like infrastructure to accommodate the probability that something will not be available.
Yeah. There's I think then that actually what it what it requires then is the ability to articulate why something's important to a product owner. Um, but that's a very hard thing to do because you're talking in
It's a
in
Dilbert cartoon.
hypotheticals. right?
It's a Dilbert cartoon.
But I don't know, like, and but maybe that's a culture thing too, because I know that like the Oregon part of, if we came and said, hey, there's this technical priority that we need to take care of, the product owners get behind it. They actually rarely question it, and they just know if we're coming to them, it's important.
Well, I mean,
So
everybody has pressure applied to them, right? I would think that
yeah.
product owners have to answer to like execs
Hmm.
of the business, and people. I think everybody wants to see happy path scenarios because that's the value that generates money, right? It's the resiliency story that's the value that reduces long that reduces expenses and keeps customers, right? But it's kind of hard to focus on those scenarios because when things work, like no one cheers, good job. Like when an outage happens, but the platform continues to operate and it shifts resources. Like
Yeah,
no
it's
one
like,
really has transparency into the investments that were made to sustain normal business activity. Like it's just expected. And so that how do you articulate that brief like without losing the person's attention and them realizing that it may not be the top priority, but if you have teams that are sitting on their hands, maybe it's an opportunity for an investment. Like I haven't
yeah,
succeeded in
or maybe
communicating
that's
that.
an extreme candor thing. Like, look at, we have developers that we have extra capacity here. There's no way to split up the feature work, and sincerely look at the feature work and say there's no way to split it up such that we can get everybody working on it. So we have additional capacity here we're wasting. We can spend that um, on technical hardening, or chaos engineering, or additional testing, or something, something that's useful that could potentially, make the software more resilient, or better in the long run. But I think that's an honest communication you could have if you feel like the team is underutilized and they're sitting on their hands, and they can't you can't if you honestly cannot find a way to split up the feature work, um, such that they could all keep busy. Yeah, you could probably make the case and describe it to them, and say, and I don't know if there's metric. If you can bring numbers, that's great. If you can get metrics, if you can get, I don't know, set team sentiment or something, there's probably something to be said there. But I think it would too take make sure that you'd be able to actually describe in plain, clear terms why the feature work can't be broken down. Because I think that's a misnomer too. A lot of people like, oh, I can't do this until this is done, and I can't do this until this is done, in terms of development. But that's like rarely true. People, developers don't, like, I think about things in a way different way than a lot of developers do, because a lot of people are like, well, I need this in place before I can code it. It's like, no, you don't. You just need to have the idea of that
Well,
understood.
yes, I agree, but in a way, you still have to consider how to how to relay value to the business stakeholders. So yeah, in theory, everything is an abstraction, and if something is not available yet, well, you just abstract that away with a mock or a stub, etc. Um, but sooner or later, like the business is not going to be, they're going to get tired of seeing unit tests, right?
Yeah.
They want to see some end-to-end integration, and they're the ones that are like paying money, right? So like I agree, but you have to demonstrate slices of functionality or
Yeah.
vertical slices of functionality.
Well, can you get five, if your team is five, can you get five vertical slices of functionality going at a time? I mean, that's what I'm saying, is that if you literally cannot get five vertical slices of functionality going at the same time simultaneously with this team, um, to increase your throughput, because there's literally just not that amount of work available. It's like if you're working on a tiny microservice and you have 5 people on it, I could see that being the case. But if you're working on many like mix at the application architecture is generally in place, you can have people fill in the flesh out the feature work. If it's a question of the feature work isn't defined, then it becomes a well the product owner is not ready, and um, then it becomes a onus on them to add in details for you, I suppose, about what the requirements are. Um, but yeah, otherwise I don't know how you do it, other than you say that hey we're overstaffed.
Well, I think you have to experiment. You have to be willing to experiment.
Yeah, we're
I think.
overstaffed. Do you want this to come in under budget? Let's drop a couple re-signed developers to another team.
Hey, Gamlor. Every time I see the name Gamlor, I think about Fulgore from Killer Instinct.
Fulgore. Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't like playing Fulgore. He was just okay. But I
He,
know what you're talking about.
he reminded me of Predator, right? The
Yeah,
movie.
yeah, yeah. I see that.
Now, I want to play Tekken 2. What was it? No, it wasn't Killer Instinct. I want to play Killer Instinct on my PlayStation 5. Do they have emulators for that?
I don't know. It's
Killer Instinct would make
Xbox owns it.
money. I don't
It
understand how Mortal Kombat beat out Killer Instinct.
I don't
Or was
know.
Killer Instinct Nintendo
Killer
specifically?
Instinct is still live. I mean, they have like a newer version of it.
Is
Um,
that a Nintendo only
no,
product?
no, it's Microsoft owned. Microsoft owns Rare. It's
Okay.
if you have an Xbox, you can play Killer Instinct, the like latest version. It's kind of like a freemium model. You pay for additional champions and or whatever the heck they would call. Um, you pay to unlock those. You can play ranked. Like they have ranked play. Um, I mean, I don't know how active it is, but it's there. Like I've played it with my nephews and stuff.
I used to play with Orchid.
Yeah, Orchard. Yeah,
Uh,
yeah. I used to play her and who else? Jago and gosh, I'm missing someone. No, I mean I'd played them all occasionally, but I think I really liked playing or because I knew how to do her like thing where she would go on her hands and then spin her
Pearl,
legs
yeah,
around.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
yeah. And I liked Jago because I knew how to do his like one where he'd lob something at you.
I don't know who Jo is.
Jago, he was like the
Was it the lion
ninja.
thingy?
He
What
was
was
like
the
the
lion
ninja looking
head
one.
or leopard head? Which one was Jax? I can't remember
Yeah. Jax was a boxer, I think.
who had the leopard head.
The leopard head. Oh God, I
That
don't
doesn't
know.
sound familiar.
No, I'm gonna look up Killer Instinct.
Yeah, Jax had
Original
the robotic.
characters.
He had the like mechanical arms.
Skeletor. I wonder if it's on here.
Tekken.
So there was Black Orchid. Well, there, yeah. I guess her name was Black Orchid, but I always called her Orchid. Chief Thunder,
There's Tekken 8.
Cinder. I don't remember Idol. Who the heck is Idol? Oh, he was the like main boss guy. Um, Fulgore, Glacius, Jago, Saberwolf. You might be thinking of Saberwolf because he was actually a wolf. Um, I think Jago might have had yeah, he had Tiger Spirit,
Okay.
so that was probably it. And Spinal, yeah, it wasn't Skeletor, it was Spinal. Skeletor's from Master of the Universe. TJ Combo, and then Riptor. TJ Combo. Yeah, I remember.
Um,
Fight of.
Still waiting for my motorcycles to be delivered. I'm getting annoyed. Tekken 8. I don't know how to spell Tekken.
Tekkan.
It's let me share my screen real fast.
Killer Cuts Music CD inside. That's right. Wish I could find that CD. What's EN? Tekken.
Peggy 16.
Tekken 16.
Or Tekken something.
What's that?
Yeah, no, I just Tekken. I never played Tekken. That must be a PlayStation thing. Good thing she did her katas. Also good that they only attack one at a time. You ever see that about like shows in general? Like the person getting attacked is always only ever attacked by one. Unless they get down, then everybody attacks
Oh,
them.
the martial arts movies.
Yeah, in general. Yeah. Like you'll see like people just standing there in the background, like, and then one person will run in, and then the next person, and it's like,
yeah, they get queued up.
Yeah. I could take you out. I wonder what that would actually be like in real life, though. You'd probably just get bum rushed by everybody, and they'd knock you down.
Why does this not look like a huge? This doesn't look. I mean, obviously, I know it's way more advanced, but it doesn't really look like it's 5 generations from the last time I played Tekken. Or maybe it's just the YouTube rendering or something.
Could be.
Yeah, here he goes, right here. Hold up. Well, the thumbnail had the face on it. Yeah, this is
Guys,
too long.
there's a reason.
Okay. How do you go back? Hold up.
The
You
king of
see
the
that?
iron
Crap.
mustache.
You see the leopard head? Hold up.
Oh, I see. Yeah, I see it.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
a leopard head.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so that wasn't Killer Instinct then. Must have been.
Oh, that was Tekken, right?
Yeah.
I keep confusing them. All right. Anyways,
Mortal Kombat.
like Tekken doesn't look like it's 5 generations ahead of the last time I played it. I mean, I guess the frame rates probably increased, but I don't know. It didn't look for the
Yeah.
Unreal Game Engine 5 or whatever that thing is called. Maybe it's not running on that. I don't know. It just didn't look like, oh God, I got to get this.
Well,
It didn't.
there's only so far you can go, right? I mean, you get towards photorealism, and then it's like the differences are probably minute. They're there, but they're minute because it's not like going from an N64 to like Xbox 360 where like it's a leap. It's everything is going to be like small leaps in video games now. It's not going to be major.
I don't think so. Like you saw the Matrix Reloaded like teaser demo.
Well, if you're talking about, well, I saw the movie,
No,
but
the video game from like
oh,
the demo
yeah,
from like 3 months ago. That's impressive.
yeah,
I
yeah,
expected Tekken 8 to look like that.
but that's a cinematic. Yeah, there's
No,
issues with real time.
you said cinematic. Hold up, where we?
Isn't that a
They were.
cinematic?
If you okay, let me show you because I don't think we're talking about the same thing. Hold up.
So they originally did a Matrix like thing where they're in the lobby and they get shot at. They did that a long time ago. It was actually used to check the speed of graphics cards. And I think they redid it with this recent round of the Matrix coming out.
Matrix Resurrection trailer. Uh, is this the video game?
No, there's no. I don't know that there is a video game. There's
There is.
there's a cinematic where they're in the freaking lobby.
No, there's a video game demo,
Okay.
and and I bring this up because
Okay,
you're
I
saying
gotcha.
that there really hasn't been leaps and bounds. I'm like, yes, there has. It just probably takes a really, really long time to build games now with the latest technology.
Well, it probably takes a while to model, but And again, are you looking at actual gameplay or are you looking at cinematics? This is cinematic.
Hi, I'm Thomas.
It's gameplay. It's gameplay.
Real.
Watch. Hold up.
That's not real.
I'm trying to fast forward.
And is this any better
That's
than?
not real. I'm trying to fast forward. Hold up.
Yeah,
Marketing?
and is
I
this
thought we
any
were
better
supposed to
than?
have total
No,
creative
just wait.
control.
Just wait.
Okay.
Watch. You'll see. Just let the intro play out.
Wow, you still got it.
Like riding a bike, they say.
I sometimes miss this version of us.
Me too.
It's
Hell are
gonna
you
start in
doing
like
back
20
there?
seconds.
Sorry, I was told this is a sim preparing me to fight the system.
Right on. You know about this.
Yeah, it's all supposed to be a little unreal.
Word of advice. Agents are bad. But whatever you do, stay the hell away from marketing. See you soon.
All right, it's about to start now. This is a video game, like literally, like it's about to start right now.
So, what now?
Haven't you ever watched a movie before?
But I mean, what I was trying to say is it any different than Cyberpunk
Say no more.
2077?
Keep them off her.
All right, this is the game now.
I'll shoot.
See? You still there?
Yeah.
That's what. So you haven't seen that, right?
No.
Yeah,
But
that's
I'm.
what I mean. Like there was a huge leap. It probably takes like 8 years or 10 years now to build like I don't know a half an hour gameplay, but like that's impressive, right? The last 60 seconds or last 30 seconds of what I showed, the actual like shooting. So
Yeah, I mean it's neat. I don't think it's leaps and bounds above like it. Like if you compare that to what came out on like the like Xbox 360, yeah, it's a heck of a lot nicer. But like versus current gen games, eh. I mean, it's a step.
okay. Gambler says Uncanny Valley Ahoy. If you push, I have no clue what that first line says. If you
Uncanny
push
Valley
photorealism, so needs
also.
good artistic taste these days. I only believe it when it's shipped. It's you can download it on Xbox Series X or PlayStation 5. Anyway, some of the latest PS5 games are damn expensive. Yeah, I bought Star Wars Legos like 3 weeks ago. That cost $70,
Yeah, they should be. They
and
should be probably more expensive. Should be like $100 for a game like that.
because it costs like
Well,
$30 million to
how many
build.
hours do you get out of a game realistically in entertainment?
In general, I would assume that it's probably. Let me see the last game that I actually played end to end. Last game I played end to end was the campaign of Call of Duty.
Okay.
The last one. Well, not the last one, but like from 2 years ago. I played that, and that took me. I think it took me maybe 10 hours.
Okay. So you go 10 hours and it's probably a $60 game. So you paid $6 an hour to play the game. But then there's replayability because you got the not replayability, but you could replay it. You can share that game, but also you could play multiplayer, right? So you get more hours out of multiplayer. So you're probably looking at slowly but surely, you know, less per hour to buy it than it is. But you don't think like I mean, gaming companies have the same inflationary costs as everybody else. I mean, it's you're paying your people. You just don't have to, and you have to buy, you know, licenses to engines that are made by people, you know, that go up as well. So Like video games should be a lot probably more expensive. At least these high quality ones, like that they put a lot of time into. Especially if it's story driven. If it's unless they're gonna go with like a freemium model, but
You say it should be more expensive.
yeah,
Okay. All right. So, given your argument, we should be paying $100 every time we go to the movie theater to watch a blockbuster release
no,
because the production. I remember True Lies, that movie from like 15 or 20 years ago, that cost $100 million, right, with Arnold Schwarzenegger. So based on that logic, we should be paying like 150, $200 to watch a movie in the theater because of the production costs.
no, I didn't say that. I said the value you get out of it back. Um, I
Oh,
mean, you're having an
eh,
hourly thing. If you only make a 3 hour game, you're not spending $300 million on it generally, or a half a million, $500 million to make it.
yeah, but so Avatar was maybe 2.5 hours, and it cost a lot of money. I don't know if it was 200 million or 500 million. They've been working on Avatar 2 for
Yeah,
like the
but
past 10 years.
in totality, you get the movie for 2.5 hours, or maybe 3 hours if you're stretching it, right? So you get 3 hours worth of movie. Now, ticket prices are like a fixed good because you might have a movie that's an hour and 20 minutes all the way up to 3 hours. And like theaters don't scale their prices on that, but it is expensive to go to the theater. It costs like if you took a full family of people out to the thing
It's gonna
and
cost
you
like
get all the
$70.
yeah, if you just see the movie without any food, you're probably paying what, $12 a ticket maybe.
Uh,
Where you are, probably it's like $8
15.
where I am. Well, yeah, it's
Well,
like
you talking
eight
about
bucks where I
matinee
am
or you
at.
talking about like a Friday night? It's
Whenever.
expensive.
It's like $8 where I am at to go to the movies. It's not that expensive.
Uh,
Well, actually, maybe it's a little more. Maybe it's like $9 now. But anyways, so you take that and you say, well, if you're doing $15, you're paying $5 an hour for a 3 hour movie, right?
okay.
So what's $5 an hour for a 10 hour game? $50, right? But
Okay. Whatever
that's
math
assuming
is.
that it's only a 10 hour game. I know like Call of Duty isn't a 10 hour game,
Yeah, but there's other
just
factors, right? Just like movies. You
yeah.
come out with something that's really, really good, the the profits are not just the movie.
Oh yeah,
The profits are toys, the profits are commercials that want to license your trademark, the your Xbox Live um, stream, your PlayStation Plus stream in order to you pay a monthly or annual fee to
well
play
that's
those
that's
games
yeah,
online. Like there's other
yeah,
streams of income from that just from that product being produced, it generates multiple streams of income.
yeah. And don't forget too that with games, like the actual purchase price doesn't go entirely to the developers, right?
Yeah, it goes to
You're
the
paying,
platform, it
you're
goes to
paying,
the
yeah, you're paying licensing fees, you're paying marketing, like, or sorry, not marketing, you're paying like delivery costs, you're paying, if you buy on like Xbox Live, you're paying some to Microsoft, so it, I think that these big budget games should be priced a little higher. I think that indie games should be priced in a higher than they are, like good indie games, because it's just like some of these games give you hours and hours and hours and hours of gameplay, and they're charging like $10 for it or something like that. It's like,
I would if I actually didn't care about being a productive member of society, I would buy Final Fantasy, the last one. I played it a really, 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 really long time ago, and I just enjoyed the story. But that's a time sucker.
yeah,
I don't even know if they have multiplayer. I was just doing the campaign or whatever you call it, and it took forever. I don't even think I beat it. It took forever. Like
yeah, yeah. They put a lot of time and effort into that, and there's a lot of people's livelihoods attached to it. So they should be able to pay for a little more for, and it's a luxury good. So should be able to pay a little extra for that. But I don't know. But there's plenty of free games out there too. If you're like League of Legends is entirely free. You never have to spend a cent on it if you never want to. But it's somehow it makes a lot of money.
Yeah. Gambler says Zero Horizon Dawn 2. What is that, a racing game?
I thought Zero Horizon was like a no, I'm thinking Red Dead Redemption.
Zero Horizon Dawn trailer. Let me share my screen and then I guess we can wrap up.
No.
How do I share my screen? I want to take today off.
Mental Health Day. Holy crap! So you're playing somebody with future dinosaurs that are like
Your whole life you've been searching. And the elders,
It looks too cartoonish.
they've been holding you back.
sounds like
The
Transformers.
girl is a curse. She came from nowhere.
That's pretty much what Ukraine looks like. That's not even a joke. It's sad. But
Well, Mariupol, anyways. They totally just
what's
destroyed
that?
that city. Mariupol. Like if you've seen that city is like just completely destroyed.
They did the same thing to Aleppo, whatever that town is or city is in Syria. Of course, I didn't get the type of attention that a developed country gets when it gets destroyed. I'm depressed, man. Okay.
Wow.
Gamlor, it's been real. I'm tapping out. You said Chechnya. Chechnya, I don't think really. Are you talking about during Bill Clinton's days? Like,
No, Chechnya was another Russian
that's not
conquest.
Kosovo? That's separate from
No.
Kosovo?
Kosovo, Bosnia is different than Chechnya. So
Chechnyan rebels. Yeah,
Chechens.
that didn't really. I don't think I've ever met someone where like, hey, where you from? Chechnya. That's never happened. I've met one person from Mongolia. Yeah, I have to say I never met anybody from Chechnya. I've met a couple people from what's that Russian Asian country?
No,
No,
you said Mongolia, right?
I already said Mongolia. No, it's a Russian Kazakhstan. I met a couple of
Kazakhstan?
Is Kazakhstan or it's not Kazakhstan?
I thought it was Kazakhstan.
Okay, I met a couple of people from Kazakhstan.
Great success. Isn't that where that Borat is supposed to be from in Borat, Kazakhstan?
I don't know. I boycotted that movie.
The first one was funny. The second one I thought was just lame. Like
Yeah,
it just tried to do. I don't know.
Kazakhstan, they literally look like they're a mix of Russian and Chinese. I guess because it sits in between, right? Or something like that.
Yeah, it's interesting that that Eurasian boundary, anyways, is interesting.
All right, I'm tapping out. Hey, it was great catching up with you. It's been 2 weeks. My knees are sore.
Oh yeah, I was going to tell you or talk about that, but yeah, we can save it for another day, I suppose.
You're broke up too?
Oh yeah, I don't know. I hit the wall where I did the half marathon, and then I basically didn't. I ran that one time in Florida, and I was just like dogging it. So I'm like, okay, I'm gonna take the week off. And this week though, I almost ran 6 miles yesterday. I ended up walking the last little bit of it because it was just yuck. But one of my knees hurts, and what really hurts is right here on my back, right below my neck. I don't know if it's a posture thing because I'm like, at the computer all the time. But man,
Do you carry a belt of water containers?
no.
You just run 6 miles and you don't hydrate while you're running? Yep.
Yeah.
When you
My
do the
pl-
marathon, you don't carry water containers.
no, no,
Oh wow.
they have
Oh yeah, they have refreshment stuff
refreshments,
stands.
but I don't know though. Like every time I drink either a Powerade or a water on those runs, I feel sick right after it. But so it'd probably be better not. But my plan is actually for tomorrow is to try to run. I want to run the half marathon distance again because I like thinking about the marathon coming up. Like I couldn't imagine doing double that when I finished the marathon. Like holy crap! I got done. I'm like, if I had to do this all over again because it was a loop, a double loop. It wasn't a straight for that full marathon. You just did the same track twice. And I'm like, I couldn't do it.
You
Like
should do the
I'd
you
be
should do
walking.
the you should do the Miami marathon. You run through like all the major like towns of Miami or districts of Miami. I mean, I did a
Yeah,
half marathon, but yeah, I felt the same way. Like even Mexico City, I'm like, oh my God, this took everything out of me. My nervous system's effed up. I'm crying for no reason. I don't know why. My body's in shock. And then there's another probably like 5,000 or 10,000 people that are voluntarily running twice as long. Like I can't. Humans are weird.
yeah,
I still remember the quote from Back to the Future, where he's in the saloon and he's telling the wild westerners in the bar or in the saloon what the future is like. He's like, in the future, people run, and it's not because they're being chased. They run for fun. I gotta show that. I gotta show that part in the movie on YouTube. It's funny. So
yeah, yeah. But my knees have been hurting a little bit too, and my hips, and just like I don't know if I hit the wall on it or what, but I think I just gotta, like you said, man up and just push through it and just get comfortable with that pain and
uh,
call it
I,
a day.
I usually tell my chick that she's the benefactor of my conditioning, and she rolls her eyes at me. Uh, ha-
Alrighty.
have you ever experienced losing weight? Like, how much have you lost since the last 6 months of you training?
Nothing. Nothing. I've been stuck. Um, my set point is where I'm at, but I haven't done any fasting. I'm pretty sure is about the only strategy I could follow, and it's so hard to fast when you're at home. Like at work, it was when I was out in the office, so easy because you just don't eat breakfast. You go to work, you don't eat lunch, you work through, and then you're good. But at home, it's like I could just go making some eggs quick and then whatever. But I think though, because I've also been doing some lifting just on like the machines at the gym,
The
and so I've been putting muscle on. So I think I'm leaner than I was, but from a weight perspective, just pure pounds, I'm about the same. So
is it benefactor or beneficiary? Which one is the right term?
I think a beneficiary is somebody who gets gets something when you like if you like are no longer able to receive it, so like you die, then your
Oh, okay,
beneficiaries
okay,
get it. But
okay.
a benefactor is somebody who benefits you. Isn't that what I think? Because it's like our benefactors um,
Now I gotta
are
look it up
people
real fast.
who are like entities that benefit you.
The person who gives money or other help to a person
Yeah,
or cause. So I'll completely butcher that statement.
beneficiary is somebody who gets
Uh,
something.
so I'm a benefactor due to my cardio conditioning, and my chick is a beneficiary.
Beneficiary. So you're a
Uh,
benefactor and to a beneficiary, like a
uh,
signer and a signee or whatever. Or
okay, that means I'm tapping out. Hey, it was good
yeah.
talking to you. See ya.
See you next week.
Bye.
Yep. Bye.
Yeah. Oh shoot. See you again, Laura. Take care. Adios. Yeah, we'll catch up.